Works better when the mic is not muted. It's one of those days. Can't wait to take a vacation. Welcome, everybody. Good to have you with us. We are live. How we're live, sometimes we never know. The internet is really a nutty place. Bring me back to television and radio stations quickly, please. Good to have you with us. Hope everybody is doing well. This is your host, Jim Masters, and we are having a good time today because we've been working very hard on all the shows that are coming up, but also really busy with the professional work too. I was on the air all day today with some of the other shows that I host. Hope you guys have been doing well. Hope you had a really good day today. If you're not smiling, well, I could understand if you watch the news, but we're going to make you smile because we've got an amazing guest here as well. And we have all of you, our lovelies from all around the world. It's great to have you with us. I am your host, Jim Masters. Let's check out to see who's with us already. Lots of folks here. Christine from North Carolina says, greetings, Jim and lovelies. We welcome Tony-winning theater director, producer, screenwriter, Richard Maltby Jr. to the show. Looking forward to the fantastic conversation ahead. Thanks, Christine. Tulips from Willie in the Netherlands. Marilyn's here. Good evening, Jim, and all our lovelies. Ralph is here as well from Indiana. Good evening. Good to see you as well, Ralph. He also says, hello, everybody. He's watching. He's tag teaming on Facebook and YouTube. That's great. We love that. Merlin is watching in Canada. Good to see you as well. And Mary Bishop is here. Hello, Jim and lovelies from Florida. Good to see you. Good evening, Jim and the lovely family from Cleveland. Nice to see you as well. Bernadette. Hello, Jim and all the lovelies. Good to see you, Bernadette. Willie, once again. Hello, Jim and my dear friends. Have fun tonight. Hi, Jim and wonderful lovelies. Good to see you as well. Ann Wozniak. Juanita, hello, Jim and everyone. Good to see you from South Africa, Juanita. We love having you here from New York City. Kathleen is here. Good to see you, Kathleen. From Allentown, Pennsylvania. Kitchen dancing, feeling better. I'm glad you're feeling better there, Jennifer. Nice to see you as well. And Ralph says, going to be a fabulous show. And thumbs up from Willie. Freaking awesome, Jim. Love you, dude. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Right back at you. Jen is Zen from the United Kingdom, from Hampshire in England. Avril Britton is here. Hi, Jim and all the lovelies. Hope you're doing well. And this is your day off today. Terrific. So you can stay up late. Nice to have you. We love when you're here, and I hope you're doing well in the United Kingdom. Smiles from Willie. Hi to all from Marsha Watson. Claudia in Illinois. Hello, everyone from Missouri and Illinois. Hope you've had a good Wednesday. Good to see you from Missouri, Claudia. Greetings from Marianne Lapinto, and Antonio Garcia's here. Let's go on vacation, Puerto Rico, December. I don't know, this December, I don't think anybody's going to be able to go anywhere. Jim, I have classic food blooper. Okay, we'll take a look at that one a little bit later. Marianne, hello. Jennifer Roberts. Hi, all. Love Richard Maltby Jr. You have good taste, Jennifer. And you were a guest on our show as well. From Ohio, Christopher Joseph. Hello, Jimbo, as well. Welcome, all lovelies. We welcome all of you. Thanks for joining us here on the show. It's a pleasure to have you here. And we do have a very special guest that's joining us. And, of course, we toast all of you as well. As you know, we toast you and you and you and you. We welcome all of you to the Jim Masters Show Live. Our international audience watching from all around the world. Yes, your friend George Burns is here and he is watching. He's seeing all the lovelies, all the viewers, and he greets all of you as well, as does Jeannie Gilligan and all the rest of our cast of characters. One day we're going to do a whole show where just the cast of characters do all the talking and acting. That'll be a lot of fun, right? Good to see everybody. A couple more comments coming in. Allison Tillman, hope everybody's doing well. We sure are. We absolutely are. So we're going to welcome our very, very special guest in just a second. I just want to tell you a little bit about him. A legend in the industry for sure. We're talking about Richard Maltby Jr. And he's got an amazing, amazing career. An American theater director and producer, lyricist, screenwriter. He conceived and directed the only two musical revues to win the Tony Award for Best Musical, Ain't Misbehavin', in 1978. That won more, too. Not only the Tony, but the New York Drama Critics, Outer Critics Drama Desk Awards, also the Tony Award for Best Director. And Fosse in 99, Tony, Outer Critics, and Drama Desk Awards as well. He's an extraordinary individual, a legend in the industry. He was born in Wisconsin, the son of Virginia and Richard Maltby Sr., well-known orchestra leader as well. He studied at Yale University, where he was a member of the Manuscript Society. Their first Broadway credit is in '68, when their song "The Girl of the Minute" was used in the new review, New Faces of 1968. And in 1977, the Manhattan Theater Club produced a review of their earlier songs written for other works, finally titled "Starting Here, Starting Now," with composer David Shire. And Richard was the director and lyricist for Baby in 1983, the book by Sybil Pearson, and lyricist for Big, 1996, book by John Weidman. Also with David Shire, he conceived and wrote the lyrics for Take Fight, book by John Weidman, which he had its world premiere in July 2007 as well. Extremely busy gentleman, and again, a true legend. He was a director and co-lyricist for the American version of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Song and Dance, starring Bernadette Peters. He was lyricist for Miss Saigon, the Evening Standard Award 1990, and Tony nomination Best Score in 1991. He also conceived and directed Ring of Fire, a musical about Johnny Cash, which ran on Broadway in 2006. He is co-book writer and lyricist for The Pirate Queen in 2007. He was most recently represented on Broadway as the director of the new original musical, The Story of My Life, by composer and lyricist Neil Bartram and book writer Brian Hill. The musical had a brief run at the Booth Theater in February 2009 and received a 2009 Drama Desk Award nomination for Outstanding Production of a Musical. He also constructed cryptic crossword puzzles for Harper's Magazine. That's right. And since January 1976's issue, and in the New Yorker magazine, or a New York magazine, that is, in the early 1970s. We're very excited to welcome him here. His body of works really speaks for itself. He's live and direct from New York, from his home. Let's welcome Richard Maltby Jr. How are you?
Hello, hello. How are you?
Busy bee all these years. And with
honor to be here, Jim. It really is.
Very much. It's our pleasure. And we tip our hat and raise our glass to you, sir. So with all of that you've been doing and have done, what are you working on now? And what have you been doing to keep those creative juices flowing during this rather unusual period in our lives?
Well, the funny thing is, being quarantined during the pandemic isn't all that different from the way I live.
Yeah.
I mean, writers, I sit and look at the computer, and for a big event, I go down and get the mail, and it hasn't changed. So I've been doing a tremendous. I actually have a lot of things in the works. If there is a theater ever again, which I guess is questionable, but I'm supposed to have a new musical called Dancers at a Waterfall in Philadelphia in the fall of 2021, 2021. And there's another show that may be done in Hartford in about that time. There's a play that I'm directing about FDR and the Jews, written by a classmate of mine from Exeter.
Will that be at the Hartford Stage or the Bushnell?
Hartford Stage.
Oh, Hartford Stage. We'll have to come see that. Yeah.
So this play has a huge cast and it's quite complicated, but David is one of the great TV writers of if you wanted to do a TV show on a historical subject, he was the go-to person. David
He was the go-to person, yeah.
That, and I'm doing a bunch of virtual things because that's the way you do theater today.
Yeah, that's the way it's. Do you like that, or I mean, some said they've liked it, but they don't love it.
Well, it doesn't quite have the contact, but all all things are. I mean, there's just different kinds of excitement,
Right. You
There,
adjust, you
there
pivot.
was an hour and a half special that was just David Shire and my songs, and we had a cast of six extraordinary people: Elizabeth Stanley and Alex Gemignani and my daughter Charlotte, and some extraordinary people, and they learned these songs for the show,
Mm.
and it was a really impressive. First of all, it's impressive to have all your work put side by side. Think, oh my God, I
Yes.
actually did all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. When you hear the bio, a lot of people are like, oh my God, I think we've wrapped the whole show here because the whole bio covers it all. And that's not even everything. That's just scratching the surface of your extraordinary body of work. Your father, a well-known orchestra leader. Tell us about the atmosphere growing up. Obviously, you had performance right around you. What were some of those early inspirations for
well,
you?
I don't know. They were mostly sort of osmosis. I mean, I was when I was born. My father was a trumpet player in traveling bands. So basically, for the first 2 years of my life, I lived in the backseat of a Plymouth. That was my I finally settled down in Chicago for a while, and my father took a job during the war at WBBM in Chicago as a staff arranger, and and then when we moved to New York, he became a recording artist, and he also he just did arrangements for everybody, and I would sit in the room while he was working, and I would also go to his recording sessions and go to the radio broadcasts, and I just sit there. I don't think he ever taught me. He never sat down and said, "I'm going to teach you anything."
Yeah.
It just came through my skin.
Yeah.
What his skill was, he would do a 2.5 minute, 3 minute arrangement that was architecturally perfect. It would just
Yeah.
go this way, and then that would happen, and then this would happen, and then the pieces would come together with a satisfying conclusion. And I got when I was doing Ain't Misbehavin', I thought I seem to have this feeling for structure. I don't, that why where did I get it from? And I realized that it came from sitting in those recording sessions, hearing
Mm.
others arrangements. Like structure just came in through the skin, and I kind of learned how to do it.
Mm. Absolutely. What early on for you? What were some of those early breaks that happened for you? Some of those wonderful opportunities that developed for you that sort of set you on that path?
Well, I always wanted to do music. I really wanted to be a set designer because I wanted to make the scenery move. Up until the time I found myself at Yale and discovered I couldn't draw, and that was the end of my. But
Took care of that.
I wanted to do. I met David Shire in in our freshman year at Yale, and we determined that we were going to write a show for the Yale Dramat, and we in fact wrote two: one in our sophomore year, and one in my junior year, and one in our senior year. And they were rather star-studded. Um, the first one was an adaptation of Cyrano de Bergerac. Dick Cavett was in it. Austin Pendleton was in it. The film directors John Badham and Peter Hunt were, on the stage crew, and Peter was the lighting designer. And then the next year we wrote an original, and Gretchen Cryer was in it, starred in it, and also Nancy Ford was in the ensemble. So we had some extraordinary breaks. I mean, we didn't know that you couldn't do an original musical with the budget that we had.
Right.
Decided that David and I decided that we would, well, for having tried to adapt What Makes Anyone and discover that you can't do things unless you have the rights, we had
Mm-hmm.
to go for something in the public domain. So we decided to adapt Cyrano de Bergerac, not noticing it set in the period with the most elaborate costumes ever. I mean, anybody who
I
went
would say so, yeah.
extraordinary clothes. And we did it. We had an orchestra of 15 in a theater that didn't even have an orchestra pit. We had 5 huge sets and a big cast. I don't know how we did. We even took it on tour.
Mm.
Years before Yale took shows on tour. So we took it to the Shakespeare Festival in Stratford and also to the Phoenix Theater in New York.
Mm.
Years later, I was talking to Hal Prince and he said, well, we came down to see it. I said, you saw Cyrano at the Phoenix? He said, everybody was there. I said, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Everybody was there.
Everybody was there.
Yale was bringing a musical to New York. Everybody had to see that. I didn't know. I have to say that the number of times that I've had to say things like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm sort of oblivious to things that were going on while my life was happening.
Did you ever have any involvement with the Long Wharf Theater in New Haven?
I did indeed. I knew those people very well, Arvin Brown and all of that. And at one point, I met Geraldine Fitzgerald, the great actress, who was doing a production of Juno the Paycock there, and I went to see it. I had been interested in doing a music. There's a musical of Juno the Paycock written by Mark Blitzstein. It was not a success, but it had one of those artistic scores that people like me fall in love with and time. And so I wanted to fix the book and make that show happen. And I met Geraldine up there, and she said, well, she had just done Three Penny Opera, so she could, be the lead and she suggested Milo O'Shea, who was a great Irish actor. And so we decided we'd do the musical, and Arvin said he would do it at Long Wharf. So we did it at Long Wharf. We did it at Williamstown, and it was a real experience. I was at that time training myself to be a director, and I did this in order to direct the show. But then when Arvin suggested he wanted to do it, I thought, fine, I'll just watch him.
Yeah.
I'll learn from him. And,
yeah.
So so I've done that. I've done. I took Jim Dale's one-man show up there. I did a production of Ain't Misbehavin' for them rather recently, in the last 5 years. So yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. What was your time at Yale like?
My memory is that I was there forever. It lasted so long. Recently, I mean, my kids have gone through college. It seemed to me that they went in as freshmen and they were graduating a week from Tuesday. I mean, it's like, while I was there, it seemed to go on forever. And it was great. We produced wonderful plays. We had really great productions. They did these elaborate musicals, which we just did. And it's actually, we invited, because that's the kind of people, we invited theater people from New York to come up and see the show. We were so arrogant. And some of them came.
They came.
And one of them, was an agent. And so we got out of college and we had an agent almost immediately. So that was good.
That's quite an experience. Most people don't get the agent right away like that. They have to.
No. We did it. We just and then we also had some friends who wanted to be producers, and so we did a show in New York called The Sap of Life. Almost just like 2 years after we graduated. They went into the Army for a 6-month program. That was hysterical.
Yeah.
Just imagine David Shire and me and going at the hand grenade training. I threw the grenade and kept the pin. No, I did it the other way around. I threw the pin and kept the grenade.
And you're still here to talk about it. You live to talk about it.
You never know what time you're living through. But we were at Yale at the end of the 50s, and it was the golden age of going out of town. Every show went out of town. They went to Philadelphia or Boston, and a good number of them went for a week to New Haven, on the way to Boston or Philadelphia. And so everything came through. And I learned that you could usher at the Shubert Theater.
Yeah.
Not only see the show for free, but get paid $7 for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, all the time. I saw the first performance ever of My Fair Lady.
Were you at the, it was just a few years ago, they had the 100th anniversary celebration gala of the Shubert Theater. I happened to be there, and Betty Buckley was one of the folks they were honoring as well, and a few others.
Yeah, no, I was just an usher, but you get to see everything, and
yes,
like a training program to see. Fiorello came through, and you see the first performance. Musicals had a Saturday night performance and then ran through the next week. Plays opened on Wednesday and closed on Saturday. So Fiorello, opened on a Saturday, and at the Monday night performance, a set had been cut, an entire scene was gone, a whole bunch of changes had happened already.
Yeah,
it was really, it was thrilling. My Fair Lady had in it the Decorating Eliza ballet, which never went anywhere, and which was cut from the show. Also, Say a Prayer that ended up in Gigi.
Mm-hmm.
And Higgins had a song called "Come to the Ball," which are all disappeared at one. So I snuck into the theater because you do that. You go up to the balcony and there quietly, and heard Alan J. Lerner improvising to Lost Heart what he thought would replace those three songs in one scene.
Yeah.
Oh God, it was exciting.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Those three songs went away and were replaced by one brilliant dialogue scene. It's the scene where Higgins and Pickering are waiting for Eliza to come down, and they're about to go off to the ball, and Pickering is nervous, and Higgins is pretending to be completely cool. And then Eliza comes in the beautiful ball gown, comes down the staircase. And then the scene ends with Higgins. Higgins starts out the door, and then he stops. And he lets the lady go first. He lets Eliza go first. It's a huge, beautiful, beautiful moment. And
very special.
When the show opened, but it was discussed. I also the "Move Your Bloomin' Arse" line was such a laugh. The laugh just kept rolling on into the next scene, and the next scene is on the Street Where You Live, which is going to be the big hit song. Well, the audience didn't hear it because they were still laughing from the.
They're still.
So I heard Alan J. Lerner saying, "Well, maybe it needs an introduction." He comes in and says, "Oh, that girl! I can't get her out of my mind," and that'll calm everybody down. And so then we can start the song, which in fact went into the show before the end of the week.
That is absolutely amazing. What a great story, my God!
Well, but I mean, it was the first production of the Visit with the Luntz of all. The last show they ever did.
Yeah,
absolutely extraordinary. And
tell us about.
In the Visit, there was across the lip of the stage a whole bunch of little teeny baby Fresnels. Those are those little spotlights that go into store windows.
Yeah.
Little things. There were like 40 of them where the footlights would normally be. And I'd never seen anything like it. In the Shubert, you can go down to the front box and you're kind of almost overhanging the stage.
Yes.
And what happened was that every time Lynn Fontaine came to this position, a little baby light hit her right here in pink light. And then if she moved over there, that went off and another one came up.
Mm.
It's one of those, and she always hit her mark
Mm.
because she didn't, she thought if this was shadowy, she'd look old. And,
Joan Crawford would have loved that.
oh,
That
yeah,
lighting.
exactly so. Exactly so.
Did you see the visit when it returned with Chita Rivera? We were there.
I didn't see it. I don't know why I didn't see it.
Yeah, yeah, it was terrific. Short-lived, but it was terrific. Of course, this is a very special entity in your heart and soul. Ain't Misbehavin'. Tell us about this whole experience, and of course the Tony and everything.
I had done a one-man show for a guy named Murray Horowitz, who was a jazz buff. And after starting Here, Starting Now open, he said, you should do something with Fats Waller. And so we met for a while thinking that we would write a musical about Fats Waller. And we couldn't make it work because Fats Waller died young and he had no second act. It was a really great first act. It was all about what it was like to be an artist in the 30s and the 20s and the 30s in Harlem, and how extraordinary it was, and the issues that these performers had to face in a world that was completely hostile to them. There were no blacks in the audience at the Cotton Club, for example, and that sort of thing. So we had abandoned that, and then shortly after that, Lynn Meadow, who was the head of the Manhattan Theater Club, said, "I have a slot in the cabaret. Why don't you do something with the Fats Waller idea?" I said, "Okay." I didn't have anything else to do, so we did it. We had. I had thought that one woman would be really good for it, and she didn't want to do it, so we had to have auditions. And in the auditions, first of all, came Armelia McQueen, who looks like a Cupid doll, and is just like, she looks like she's from another planet. I mean, she's just the most extraordinary thing. She's got this glorious soprano voice, and then she's a jazz singer. So I thought, oh well, that's it. I'll just have her. And a half an hour later, Nell Carter came in, and Nell Carter sang. She sang "New York, New York," blowing the wall down. And then, because she was supposed to write a song, she was supposed to sing a song from the 30s. She decided, we expected it would be a song like just from Harlem. She said, "Well, Noel Coward is the 30s, right?" Why? So she sang "If Love Were All," this glorious, subtle song that is actually a love song to a man. And I've never heard it more touching. So suddenly I had these two women. What was I going to do? I had to pick one or the other, and I couldn't make up my mind. And then I thought, wait, cast them both and build the show to an 11 o'clock number when those two women come out and sing high notes. Doesn't matter what precedes it, the show is going to be a success. And then, since they're sort of heavy set women, I cast skinny Irene Cara from Fame, and two guys, Ken Page, who had been nicely in the Broadway Guys and Dolls, and Andre de Shields, who was the Wiz. So, I mean, they're just gigantic stars, but they weren't terribly well known. They had, the two guys had some reputation, but and we went into rehearsal with a stack of sheet music, a few really good ideas. I mean, really good ideas. They turned out to be great, but just those ideas, and we put the show together in 4 weeks. And this is the trajectory of the show. We went into rehearsal on January 1st. We opened on February 1st. We closed on March 1st. On April 1st, we went into rehearsal for Broadway. On May 1st, we opened. And on June 1st, we won every award you can win in New York. I don't think any show has ever followed that trajectory.
That is something, huh? My God.
We acquired Luther Henderson in the middle of rehearsals. He joined us because the musical arrangements weren't on the level that they needed to be on. And I had coerced a choreographer named Arthur Faria to do the choreography, even though I didn't know him and had never seen his work, but I just knew what he had done. And from talking to him, he seemed to know what he was doing. He was brilliant. He actually had he's the only person who was ever allowed to be, the only American who was trained at the Royal Ballet in Bangkok. So he knew all of the Thai dance moves. And he also knew, because he'd done a show called All Night Strut that was set in Harlem. He knew all of the Harlem dances. So he combined the two. So Ain't Misbehavin's movements, which are all hands and everything else, they're Harlem jazz moves combined with Thai, classical Thai dancing. And it's a movement style that no show ever had. Who knew that it was going to be coming? I mean, we just kept exploring ideas, and the ideas all worked. And it was a magical experience. But full of terror. I mean,
Oh yeah.
we moved so fast. The set was being built. I was supposed to have a week of tech rehearsals. The set was still being built on Monday. It was still being built on Tuesday. It was still being built on Wednesday, and we had to give a performance on Friday. So we started our tech rehearsal on Thursday. I have never teched a show on Broadway, ever. I didn't know anything. And I was given a stage manager who was the crony of the general manager, who had given up the business and had come back, a former drunk. Anyway, he couldn't count to 8. We'd go 1, 2, 3. I would go ba 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 2, and he'd go, "What was it?"
Yeah.
The first we got through the first day in going to midnight, and then we had to get through the next day to do the second act and run the show at 4 o'clock, so there'd be at least one run through, and then give a performance at 8 o'clock. We sort of slapped the second act together. We did a run through. For various reasons, Luther Henderson was not supposed to play the piano, and so we got the great jazz pianist Hank Jones to play. But he wasn't a good musical director for theater. He didn't know how to drive a show, and so we did this dress rehearsal. The light cues were like random. It was so embarrassing and so humiliating, and I knew this was the moment when you're supposed to go and stand in front of the cast and say, "It's going to be fun."
Right.
In front of the cast.
Console them. Yeah.
I couldn't say anything. The producer, Manny Eisenberg, stepped in and said, "It's going to be fine." I went over and told Luther, "Get yourself a costume. You're going on tonight."
Yeah.
And then we did the performance. The first act was sort of okay, but the second act was just, the lights were just at random, cues were just terrible, and I felt like a complete fool. And we got to the end of the show, and we hit the finale of the show, which is this spectacular thing, and the lights went out, and the audience leapt to its feet and screamed for 15 minutes, and I thought, oh my God, they don't care about the light cues. They were watching the show.
They were watching the show. They were engrossed in the show.
Yeah.
We have a lot of wonderful photos here that I'd like to go through, and you can tell us about the various experiences, Richard. Here's another one.
Oh, wow.
Fosse, huh?
Yeah. I've forgotten this lovely woman's name. Oh, she's so great. She's about 6'2", and just a definitive Fosse dancer.
Mm.
It was an extraordinary experience because we had to resurrect all sorts of numbers,
Yeah.
just to find out what they were, to find out whether we wanted to put them in the show. We had to hire 20 dancers, go into a room for 3 weeks, and teach all these numbers just to find out what they are, and find people who knew them and people who could resurrect them. Um, and it it was quite a long experience. Plus, Gwen Verdon and Ryan King and Gwen Verdon and Gwen and Nicole Fosse, who was the Gwen and Bob Fosse's daughter, all were on the show. And there's me trying to tell them something about Bob Fosse, like I know. But I did have one thing that they didn't have, and it was an essential quality. I didn't have any connection with him. They were so deeply involved in that they didn't actually see the numbers. They didn't actually see them because they were all so tied up with how they were done and who was what the backstage drama was going on while that number was being done. Fosse never expected to see his numbers put back to back.
No.
So he borrowed from himself all the time. He stole from himself. He repeated himself. He never expected anybody to say, "Oh, this is a repetition of this. I'll put it next to it. See how you're." He never expected them ever to be done that way. And a first workshop done before I got there put them all together, and it was revealing in a very bad way. It was like, oh, I thought he was more clever than that. I mean, he is unbelievably clever, but he didn't expect that. He didn't expect to be challenged that way. And so I just constructed a show that kept that cat in the bag for a very long time. We didn't do an actual all-out Fosse number for about 45 minutes. The show had 7 minutes before there was any dancing at all, and it was all a tease, all to kind of get you to expect and to hope for and wait for and anticipate and be desperate to get what you were going to get anyway. But also, it in the course of it, it revealed how varied his work really was by putting the varied work, in front of it. And then the other thing that was interesting is that you look at the material, and he was such a personal choreographer. There was biographical information available in those dance numbers. The person doing it, his personality was in those numbers. And if you organized the show in a certain way, you got that. You got the story that you didn't think you were getting. And for a show that was really one dance number after another, you had the feeling that it was a musical, and when you were finished, just as with Fats Waller, just with Ain't Misbehavin', when the show was over, you had the feeling you had been in the presence of Fats Waller. Dustin Hoffman came to see it, and he cornered me in the lobby and said, "It's like a great teddy bear came off the stage and hugged me." And it's actually true. You had the feeling that Fats Waller was there and he had come down and performed for you, even though he's not in the show at all. And the same is true of the Fosse show. You had the feeling, and all of a sudden that you had an insight into a person. You'd spent the evening with a person, and the person was a complex playwright, which is what he really was. And I think it took people by surprise.
Was that a paper clip? That was huge.
I can't do anything except without something that I have to play with.
So you're playing with that, and I'm playing with one of the noses I got from 39 Steps.
Oh, good. That is.
And we got good stress relievers. We actually have a little bit of we have several bits of video, but we also have wonderful photos, and we'll return to the photos as well. And as we go down memory lane here, but there's a wonderful song that I want to share with our audience, because we do have music and all kinds of things coming up on this episode, folks. For those of you who are watching, we've got entertainment as much as we do conversation. Now, this is If I Sing, performed by Richard Maltby Jr. and songwriters, of course, Richard and David. Tell us about this. This is Bits and Pieces, If I Sing.
This is a song that was David Shire is the son of a band leader. His father was the sort of society band leader in Buffalo, New York, and my father was a recording star. And it occurred to us when we were doing a show that called Closer Than Ever. It was a review of songs that we had written, which seemed to be they seemed to have a uniform tone to them. They were about adults. They were about people. The second time around, they were about the people in who have lived for a while, perhaps gone through one marriage and are on another. Or it was about they had to be songs about that, and so it was about parents and parenthood and marriage and relationships and all sorts of things like that. But we thought we needed some songs for it, and we thought maybe it's time to write a song about our parents, about our fathers, and what we owed to them. And I came up with the line, "If I sing, you are the music." And David went off and just wrote this gorgeous melody. And I was actually working on Miss Saigon. I was in London at the time, and he sent it to me, and I just said, "This is wonderful." I tried to write a lyric about my father, but my father's story didn't hit. And David, after he had written this song, went up and played the song for his father in Buffalo. And his father, late in his life, had lost the ability to play the piano. And his father had played the piano all of his life. I mean, he was a piano teacher as well as a band leader. He taught David, as I got what I got through my father's recordings, David got, because his father was teaching students how to play Gershwin and Jerome Kern and Richard Rodgers and Cole Porter. He got that music through by osmosis. So we thought we would write that, and he talked about playing it and how moved his father was by the fact that he played this song for him. So I wrote a lyric about that, and it was about my father too. And it's turned out to be a song that, I mean, women sing it. It's so much a kind of a anyone who was taught by their parents, taught anything, painting, it relates to this song. It's well, there.
That was a fabulous intro. All right, here we go. If I Sing, performed by Richard Maltby Jr. Here we go. Enjoy, and we'll be back.
My father's pride was in his hands. The piano was his soul. I watched in wonder as he played show tunes, miles off from rock and roll. What he loved, he taught me. Now
Music's what I do. And often when I'm smiling, in my hands, Dad's there too. If I sing, you are the music. If I fly, you're why I'm good. If my hands can find some magic, you're the one who said they could. If the child who's still inside me finds a tune in empty air, if there is joy in making music, it is you who put it there. My dad grew old, his hands grew numb, and now he cannot play. I came to visit, he sat and asked me how it could end this way. I couldn't find an answer. I played this tune for him instead. My father sat there smiling, 'cause he knew what it said. If I sing, you are the music. If I love, you taught me how. Every day your heart is beating in the man that I am now. If my ears are tuned to wonder, if when I reach the chords are there, if there is joy in making music, it's a joy that we both share. I never told you it took time till I could see that if I sing, you are the music, and you'll always sing in me. Yes, you'll always live in me.
What do you know?
I know. What do you know?
That song
that's-
moves me every
That's a
time.
beautiful song. Yeah, that's really, really beautiful. Just everything about that song, you can really connect with that and relate. So many just different aspects of life. Your dad, obviously, a huge influence on your life too.
Yeah, I mean, my father, his idea of a really good time was to go down to the middle of Times Square and look at the lights, and we'd go down there and look at the lights. He, those are the days when Radio City Music Hall did 4 screenings and 3 stage shows every day. Opened at 9:30 and went till 11 o'clock at night, and they did it every day. And one year, he was hired to orchestrate the Easter show, which was great. So we got up at 2 o'clock in the morning and drove into New York to go to the dress rehearsal, because the shows they did a show every day, which meant when the changeover came, they did their stage show at 8 o'clock, and it ended at 9. they showed the next movie, and they were moving the scenery out and moving the scenery in for the next show. And the corps de ballet came in and rehearsed at 3, and the Rockettes came in and rehearsed at 4. And so we went down underneath the stage, and I saw the hydraulics and the Easter show, which had this big cathedral set, and all the Rockettes and the corps de ballet all becoming nuns. So they all had these big, beautiful white lilies that were so gorgeous. I was standing in the wings, and they would just throw the white lilies in this big bin because they were gray, and they'd been there for years.
Yeah.
I love that so much. But they did a dress rehearsal at like 9:30, and it was over at 10. And I think it was a little earlier than that, like 8:30. And at 9:30, the audience was coming into the theater as they were clearing up their tech board and everything. And they showed a couple of extra short subjects, and they showed the movie, and then they did the show, and they had rewritten it. And it was all different. I couldn't believe it. My little brain is like, I was like 10 or 12 or something like that, and I just, oh my God. They actually could rewrite it. It never even occurred to me that sort of thing
could happen.
Was,
That's amazing. We have another wonderful clip here of more fabulous singing. And on this one here, this is Bits and Pieces There. And you and Barbara are teamed up here, which is kind of nice. And Barbara was a guest on our show as well just a few weeks ago.
Wire, yeah.
Yeah, just a few weeks ago. And did you want to preface this at all?
Well, you might just wonder how I've been married twice. You might wonder what the source of the song was.
Cue that music.
It's like a couples therapy session.
Perfect. Here we go.
There, he was never there. Every time we talked, I'd look in his eyes, and his mind was where? I don't mean to say life was gloom and doom. Things were always pleasant. If I needed help, he was in the room. He just wasn't present. He just wasn't there. Never really there. I got so unhinged, I went out and binged, had that dumb affair. Still, the fault's not mine. Quoting Gertrude Stein, there was just no there. Don't know why I care, except that I am here, 'cause he wasn't there.
I was never
There.
She was always
There.
saying, George B.
There.
And my mind said, where? Did I have a choice? Love is worth a fight, not a thing you squander.
Yoo-hoo, George.
Then I hear her voice,
George.
urgent and uptight.
Hello.
My mind would wander.
I'm in, George.
So I wasn't there.
Couldn't he be there?
Never really there.
Once an evening there.
And I felt maligned that my vagrant mind meant I didn't care.
It was clear that he didn't care.
Then to make things smooth, she would try to soothe, sticking in her there. Got out of her hair, 'cause she made it clear that I wasn't there.
I'm not a jerk, though it's the way I seem.
Wanted to be there,
He had his work, I gave him time to dream.
knew I should be there.
Lost my desire, waiting till he awoke.
Worked at being there.
Longing for fire, living with smoke isn't a joke.
I tried to go her way, wanting things improved, tired of being not there.
Was it so hard a task?
Think of my dismay, finding she had moved by the time I got there.
Too much to
She
ask.
was over there.
I was here. I was always here.
Where the hell was there?
There was here. Could it be more clear? Broken like the blind. How we hope to find one place we could share. Faults we tried to hide, living side by side.
Funny when they're there.
They're there. They're there. And it isn't fair
No, it really isn't fair
that we wind up here
that we wind up here
when we once were there. Do 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 do.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We do write comedy numbers.
That was all kinds of great comments. People loving it as well. We also have some really nice footage here. Now, this, I believe, these segments come from the Bistro Awards, and this is a really nice one. We'll show this one, and what we'll do is then we'll talk about it when we come out of the actual clip. So this is from the Bistro Awards, and there's several different clips here, but this first one is you, and let's take a look at that right now.
Once again, thank you to the Bistro Awards. Thank you for these wonderful performers who've come and helped us. There's no way to follow something as sublime as that except with something ridiculous.
We have to end this evening with a production number, and this is one that's perfectly scaled for this stage. One step, I took myself one step, one tentative one step, and suddenly stepped into my life. I never would try life, but look at me now. When did my world become splendid? Unhappiness ended the moment I flew, and I took myself one step. One time by stepping one step, and taking this one step, I won't stop with two.
It was one of those days I spent in a haze. I mean, I was just moping around. And as I was moping, I happened to open a closet, and look what I found. A flat sort of ring. I fingered the thing and pressed it, and suddenly, I've never been one for flipping my lid, but I gotta tell you that flip it I did. Now, I am not the type that goes putting on hats. I'm certainly not a guy who was hot to be laughed at in white tie and spats, but suddenly clear, a voice in my ear was starting to say to me, jerk, you don't have to sing, you don't have to dance, but nothing will happen till you take a chance. I mean, I'm putting this on my head. I looked in the mirror and said, mirror, if you won't tell, I promise that I won't tell. What the hell? And I took myself one step, one high step and one step, and taking this one step, I won't stop with
Now,
two.
I know you folks are very theatrically wise.
So I know this news won't come as the slightest surprise.
But just in case you're in doubt as to whether or not or whether,
This is one of those songs with two parts where both of them go together. It was one of those days I spent at a haze. I mean, I was just moping around. And as I was moping, I happened to open a closet, and look what I found. A flat sort of ring. I fingered the thing and pressed it, and suddenly, I've never been one for sipping my lid, but I gotta tell you that flip it I did. Now, I am not the type that goes putting on hats. I'm certainly not a guy who is hot to be laughed at white time spats. But somewhat clear, a voice in my ear was starting to say to me, jerk, you don't have to sing, you don't have to dance, but nothing will happen till you take a chance. When did my world become splendid? Unhappiness ended the moment I flew, and I took myself one step, one high step, one step, and taking this one step, I won't stop with two.
Fantastic. Were you reliving that night?
Well, the Bistro Awards. They give a bunch of awards during an evening, but the sort of signature one is the Bob Harrington sort of Lifetime Achievement Award that went to David and me, and it was moving because as I said when I was accepting the award, you go into the business, you write songs in order to communicate with people, but when it happens, you're never there. So the fact that the songs live at all is because people sing them. And so David and I are just so phenomenally grateful to cabaret singers and cabaret performers who do our stuff all the time. They do it because they're not just songs, but they're also playable songs, actable songs, and they keep them alive, keep rediscovering them, keep using them over and over again, and it's moving. So I felt it was very nice for us to get the award, but I sort of felt we should give them an award for doing it, for just. Cabaret life is hard. It's hard to keep the business. It's hard to keep the clubs open. It's hard to get people. How do I have them break even? Just how just to do that.
Yeah,
a lot to get for a cabaret performer to put together a new show, hire musicians, get them in. It costs a lot. They almost never break even. And they do it, and they do it all the time.
They do it all the time.
Phenomenally grateful.
Absolutely. And somebody that is very near and dear to you is this young lady right here.
Oh yeah, never know who she is. It's my daughter Charlotte. She opened her mouth one day when she was like 13, and out came this soprano voice, and I kind of went, "Whoa!" And
Yeah,
it was just there. It was just there. And
absolutely. And as a matter of fact, our crack research staff, we have some of that incredible voice of Charlotte, your lovely daughter. right here, and we'll share that with our audience, and then we'll come back and we'll chat more about that as well.
This is Autumn, right? This is the song called Autumn. Yeah,
I believe it is. Yeah.
this is one of the first songs that we wrote at Yale for Cyrano, and it was recorded by Streisand and a bunch of other people when we came to do it.
That's right. Phenomenal song. And here is Charlotte Maltby.
Charlotte Maltby.
Thanks, Dad. Autumn, it feels like autumn. Although the breeze is still, I feel a chill of autumn. Oh yes, it's autumn. It's always autumn. However green the hill, to me it still is autumn. I can feel the frost now that makes my spring and summer dreams seem lost now. Why can't the autumn haze recall the days of warm summer laughter that faded soon after in autumn? He left in autumn. And though another season's here, I feel the emptiness of autumn all the year. I can feel the frost now that makes my spring and summer dreams seem lost now. Why can't the autumn haze recall the days of warm summer laughter that faded soon after in autumn? He left in autumn. And though another season's here, I feel the emptiness of autumn all the year. Autumn.
Exceptional. I mean, what a knockout voice, huh?
Yeah, she was she played she was Maria in The Sound of Music in the National Company for 6 months.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the comments that are coming in, I'll show you here. Michael Colby is watching. Barbara Blair is here. She said, lovely. Michael Colby saying enchanting. Ralph saying wonderful to see again. Merlin in Canada. Proud Daddy sitting there. Willie, who's in Holland. Papa Pride. And Marcia Watson, bravo. Charlotte. Juanita in South Africa. Magnificent voice. Beautiful. Bernadette Vidal. What a treat to the ears. And they were saying that about you as well. But they're really saying it with Charlotte. The Bistro Awards was the last event on a Thursday before everything closed down. Very heartfelt.
That's
Kathleen.
true. That is true.
Yeah.
We were not sure
What was happening?
what happened, and
Yeah.
we were not sure whether we should show up. Um, and David at that time had been sick with something, and so he came. He was in the car outside. We were introduced. He came in through the he didn't go through the crowd. He went to the piano, did the thing, and when the show was over, he turned and left. So he had no contact with anyone in the room. And you know, and I left very soon afterwards. Also, it was like, I mean, we were just scared. And
Yeah.
2 days later, the shutdown came.
Unbelievable. You might want to tilt the camera just a little bit off. It's cutting off the top of your head.
Oh,
And
yeah, there you go.
there you go.
Oh, how do you know?
We don't want to cut off that nice hairstyle. I mean, come on.
Lord.
Yeah. Here is, I know.
Hair is lots longer these days than it ever was.
And it was jet black before the pandemic.
But not quite. But I had had a haircut in like February, went to Connecticut, and then didn't have a haircut until September.
So I still have yet to get mine. It's a whole new, I kind of like it. Everybody seems to be liking it. It's just throw the hat on and.
You look great. It takes years off of you.
I'm actually 99. I'll be 100 next month.
Wow.
This is a clip, Big, the musical.
Oh, well, David and John Weidman and I did an adaptation of Big musical. It was done on Broadway. It ran for a season, and then it was recently revived in London. And a few years ago, the York Theatre, they do something called muftis, which are these productions of musicals, people carrying the scripts. They're done in one fast week, but they're pretty elaborately staged. And we had a really good cast: John Tartaglia, Harry Butler, and a very distinguished performer whose name I won't mention, who played Macmillan, who was the head of the toy company. And we did our dress rehearsal. I mean, you rehearse, you do a dress rehearsal on Friday night, you do a matinee opening on Saturday. That's the way the show goes, because there's hardly any time. The matinee was to be at 2:30. At 2:15, the stage manager came down and said, "I don't understand. Where's Walter? He's not here." And you know, another 5 minutes went by, and still Walter hadn't shown up. And we were getting scared because the show was, you know, going to start in 10 minutes. And I said to the stage manager, "Well, highlight a script. I can maybe go on and just read the scenes or something like that." But I kept expecting that the door would open and he'd come in at any minute. And suddenly Jim Morgan was doing his opening speech, which luckily is pretty long. And then he finished it and he introduced the show, and the show started. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going on. And I was fabulous. I mean, I had so much fun. It turns out that I remembered all the songs. I remembered all the music. Although there was one moment in the show on the stage where I figured I just finished something that I remembered, and I turned the page, and there was a whole page of lyrics highlighted, and I had no idea what they were. I'd never seen them, I thought before, but they came back to me as I was performing. At any rate, I ended up doing 10 performances of it, and one somewhere along the way we did an archival performance, a film of it, and so this is the Fun. It's a song called Fun. It's the one that takes place in the toy store with the piano keyboard, and it's with John Tartaglia, who is brilliant, and who he said to me, "I'll push you around. I'll make sure you get to wherever you have to go," and so he did.
And here it is.
Put this on a Barbie doll? Yeah. Then you stick the Barbie heads on the Starfighters and you do like Miss America on Krypton. Fun. It's off the wall. It's kind of goofy. It's fun. It breaks the rules. It's even foolish. It's fun. It can be cruel, but even ghoulish. It's neat. Fun's precipitous, serendipitous. That's the part that is sweet. Right. And the wonderful thing about fun is it kicks you right in the seat. Fun is when the sign points left and you go to the right. Fun's a jigsaw puzzle that you work on half the night. A change of scene, Game Boy magazine. Fun can be Miss Watson when she cleans the fax machine. Fun isn't something that's deep. Fun isn't acting like sheep. Fun mostly shows when they yell out, "Here goes!" Close your eyes, hold your nose, and then leap. Piano lessons? 3 years. 4.
That was terrific.
I, without the benefit of any rehearsal.
Without the benefit of any rehearsal. Very first song that I learned, probably many people, on the piano, wasn't Chopsticks. It was Heart and Soul.
Well,
the second song was the theme to All in the Family. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Oh, yeah. Written by Charlie Strauss.
That's right. Very, very piano-centric. We have some more. We have some wonderful photos, but we also have more video to share with everybody. Now, this one here, set this one up. This is with Lynn Wintersteller. Did you want to tell us about this particular one?
Oh, it's a great, it's one of my favorite songs and one of the songs I'm most proud of. It's also a song that is done all the time. Jonathan Schwartz, when he had his, in fact, he still has it now, his Broadway
The WQXR.
on for years, you know. He would play this song, Life Story, once a week, sometimes twice a week, sometimes twice a day. He played it all the time. And it was interesting. I mean, Closer Than Ever is a bunch of story songs. They basically, every song tells an entire life story in one way or another. And this was the most extreme example of it. One of David's old girlfriends came and asked me for advice on a benefit that she was doing or something, and it was, you know, fun to talk to her. And as she was leaving, I said, "So how's life been with you?" And she turned around and basically told me this story. I had been collecting a file of interesting things that people had told me. People had told me anecdotes, or they told me something, and I thought that was a joke, or that it was funny, or that it was revealing, or something like that. And I collected this file, and so I put that in the file. And every now and then I would take it out and expand, write a little something, make a little bit more of something, and slowly these songs became songs, and we put them together in this show that was called Closer Than Ever. So this is one of the signature songs from the show, and is Lynn Wentersteller's personal calling card. It's her sing. It's her famous song.
All right, and here it is, everybody. Enjoy.
It was a liberated marriage. We shared the household chores, of course. We understood each other's feelings right down to the day of our sensible divorce. I didn't ask him for a penny. I'd had my liberated training. So off he went with his hair of bronze to find a life like Khalil Gibran's. I got my rest from the drugs he did. He got his quest. I got the kid. And oh, I'm not complaining. So I set off to be a writer, a modern mother on her own. I wrote up happenings at galleries, turned down jobs with salaries, stayed freelance and alone. I fought the battles of the 60s, which you recall were rather draining. When men were thick, I hit the fray, became a prick, got equal pay. I faced down chauvinistic slobs, I won the fights, improved the jobs, and oh, I'm not complaining. Still got it. My husband found himself his ashram, lost 40 pounds and went through hell. Then one day he came back from limbo, found himself some bimbo, and moved to New Rochelle. I raised my son, and I had lovers. My choices sometimes take explaining. I'd meet some jock, my friends would scoff, he'd stay a while, I'd drive him off. I kept my space, preserved my turf. 6 months, I'd send him back to surf, and no, I was not complaining. So through college. I paid tuition like a fine. I'm still this feisty freelance writer, resume well honed at a well-toned 49. I find that getting work is harder. Each job I want takes more campaigning. And those sweet young things who hire me now, those MBAs making 90 thou, who smile and ask what I have done when they got their fights from the jobs I won. They should all stay home and have babies. But I'm not complaining. And in the evening at my window, as I watch Jersey growing dim, I feel a troubling emotion summed up in this notion. I wish I'd stayed with him. Lord knows each day with him was madness, as I have spent my life maintaining. But more and more I recall the joy, my golden dreamer, my lost boy. Our life was life in the twilight zone, but no worse than a life alone. And oh, well, I chose my way, and I'm not complaining.
Another great one and a great performance too.
Yeah, Lynn is breathtaking. I mean, all of the people in that
Yeah.
original cast were up closer than ever worked.
Yeah.
It's Lynn. It was Sally Mays, Brent Barrett, and Richard. I'll think of it in the next song.
If you think of it at 2 a.m., you can text me and I'll update everybody on a future broadcast. This next one is
Richard Mewins.
There you go. See?
Very crap. He all of them had tremendous credits, so we're just really great.
And now we have Liz Calloway.
Well, yeah. This is, we have written Liz Calloway's signature song. It's the end of the first act of Baby. When we were auditioning, I was auditioning for a show called Gallery. It had Cleveland songs, and in came this girl. She was wearing a kind of a dumpy sort of jumpsuit with suspenders and sneakers. I think she hadn't prepared really for this. She was like 20, maybe even not at that. She was just out of school, and she'd come to New York, and she started to sing "Be a Lion," and the song just keeps going up and up and up and up. And by the time she was like halfway through it, I clutched Bill Elliott's knee through the show and said, "That's the lead in Baby," and we knew right that moment. And several years later, we did it, and she was the lead in it, and this is the song at the end of the first act, which has gone on to be her calling card. It's our most famous song, and I'm proud of it because it's about a subject that nobody would ever write. And in fact, I'm with all of our songs, I'm happy that they tend to be songs on subjects that nobody else would write about. So.
Right, exactly. Beautifully said. Now here is Liz Calloway. Everybody enjoy. It's going to be another knockout performance.
Oh, it will.
But this seems like an appropriate song to be singing. Richard, David, thank you for this song. So this is the tale my mother told me. That tale that was much too dull to hold me. And this is the surge and the rush she said would show. Our story goes on. Oh, I was young, I'd forgot that things outlive me. My goal was the kick that life would give me. And now, like a joke, something moves to let me know our story goes on. And all these things I feel and more, my mother's mother felt, and hers before. A chain of life begun upon the shore of some dark sea has reached to me. And now I can see the chain extending. My child is next in a line that has no ending. And here am I, full of life, that her child will feel when I'm long gone. And thus it is, our story goes on and 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 on. And all these things I feel and more, my mother's mother felt, and hers before. A chain of life begun upon the shore of some primordial sea has stretched through time to reach to me. And now I can see the chain extending. My child is next in a line that has no ending. And here am I, feeling life that her child will feel when I'm long gone. Yes, all that was is part of me. wants to be. And thus it is our story goes on and on and on and on and on.
I like the way she said, your turn. That's a tough act to follow. Your turn.
We actually did one step right after that. So
Yeah.
production was,
She really knows how to.
we really have to do something ridiculous, but it's not an amazing voice.
Yeah.
No break whatsoever. It just goes up and up and up, and
Yeah.
and it's flawlessly crystal clear, and the words are spectacular. I mean, she's such an actress, and it's just to have her as our muse
Mm-hmm.
is just a thrill.
Absolutely. Great comments. Great voice from Maryland and Wichita, Kansas. Bernadette says, bravissimo. Marianne Lapinto, of course. That is Ann Hampton Calloway's sister, of course. And Ann was a guest on our show in the summertime. Liz Calloway, what a great performance. Jennifer Roberts, who's here. Love all the songs from Baby too. Beautiful performance. Liz. Jennifer Barry in Allentown, Pennsylvania says, awesome. Let's see. Marcia Watson says, great to see you at Lovety Hall. You're now a Lovety amongst all the Lovety viewers. You're officially a Lovety. Linda Odell in Florida. Good evening, Richard. You're a Lovety now. Michael Colby, who was a guest just a night or so ago. My favorite Maltby Shire song after Stop Time was the one we just did now, and got a Tony nomination for it. A classic song. Sue says, what a fascinating life and the people he has met and worked with. Wow. So a lot of the Loveties, the viewers around the world, are really enjoying the conversation as much as they are the entertainment. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Richard. Enjoying this evening. Jennifer Barry. Jen is Zen. That's very nice. I'm glad she's Zen. We have another performance here too, as we load them up with great musical entertainment here on the show tonight. This is Sally Mays.
Well, we have given each of those performers their signature song, and this is Sally Mays. I won't tell you what the source of the song was, but it was personal. And at any rate, I thought this was an idea that these ordinary people, you have private lives, you have no idea how interesting they are, and David had written this vamp, which was supposedly going to be under a melody. So I wrote a lyric to the vamp, and that's the lyric. And it's again a story song that I'm really proud of. And of course, Sally Mae has turned it into a personal monument.
Absolutely. Let's listen to that now and enjoy, everybody. Another wonderful performance. You're watching the Jim Masters Show live. Enjoy.
I was thinking about this. I know we're not supposed to talk, but I just want to say this real quick. Sometimes in your career, you get really, really lucky and you get to walk alongside genius for a while. And that's the experience that Lynn and I had working on Closer Than Ever. And so I just feel so fortunate that this song has followed me around all these years. Okay. sign says I'm Miss Bird. That's my name. I'm one of those people who all look the same. At work, I'm hardly seen. They come and go, but I know something that people don't know. Everyone who sees me thinks that I'm that dull Miss Bird. I could blow that myth apart, but I don't say a word. I sit here at my desk and no one knows. Not 20 minutes ago I was not wearing clothes. I was in someone's arms, in someone's bed. Oh, what the thought of it does to my head. If it's true, a bird makes music when a heart takes wing. This bird is singing. Miss Bird is singing. I'm singing I'm in love, but I'm not saying a thing. Down in apartment A, the super's aptly named. Last week I went to the basement, more hours than I claimed. He says I'm super too. He calls me hot. I show those basement apartments a lot. Back at work, I'm crisp and fresh, reliable Miss Bird. Seals are dancing in my flesh, but I don't say a word. I'm showing Penthouse C as I begin. I still feel his hand sliding over my skin. My nipples start to throb inside my bra. That's when I start to go la-da-dee-da. If you've ever felt the lift a little lunch can bring, this bird is singing. Miss Bird is singing. I'm singing up on fire, but I'm not saying a thing. No, 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 no. This is a floor through 5. I call it more a 6. The broken kitchenette tiles they will fix. Lots of girls who first seem shy have secrets I have found. If you think I'm special, I suggest you look around. That little office temp who seems so dumb, how come a trip to McDonald's is making her hum? And Mrs. Smith in sales, who's turning gray, why is she smiling that curious way? If it's true, the drabest songbirds come alive in spring. The birds are singing. Miss Bird is singing. I'm singing I'm in love, but I'm not saying a thing. No, 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 no. Mum's the word. La, 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 la. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard, woo! Shigga-doo, shigga-doo, shigga-doo.
Another winning performance.
We've been very lucky to have these people enter our life. You know, I mean, but it's the the privilege of being in New York. You know, if you do anything in New York, the people who pass in front of you are extraordinary. Even the people that you don't cast.
Yeah.
I mean, the depth of talent in New York is just, and you know, is just wonderful. And when people come in and you spot something, you know, like Nell Carter coming in, or Scalloway Sally, when someone comes in, you kind of go, oh wow, and then you just watch their career. The funny thing is that you own them. I have shared in everything that Nell Carter ever did.
Mm.
You know, it's like she doesn't know it. She didn't know it, but
Yeah.
I was like, you participate in that.
And then she had that great hit TV show on NBC, Give Me a Break, too.
No, I know. I mean, she had, so many aspects to her career.
We lost her too early, for sure.
Yeah, that was extraordinary to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible spirit, incredible voice, everything. The next clip we have, Richard, is the 2020 honoree roll call, Richard Maltby Jr. and David Shire. So that's quite exciting.
Really? I have no idea.
I love your expression.
I will be fascinated to find out what that is. Oh, honors everywhere. Honors.
Oh, well, of course.
There's no room on the piano for anyone.
I mean, you got to build an extra wing on the house just for that, to balance the weight of the furniture and everything out. Here it is. And this is going to be a good one, too. And more coming up on the Jim Masters Show Live. Here we are. Enjoy, everybody. This is the 2020 honoree roll call with Richard Maltby Jr. and David Shire. Enjoy. Here it comes. It's queuing up.
Well, that's just adorable. I didn't prepare anything to say because I figured something's going to occur to me. And I'm just so, filled with feeling tonight. And I'll just sort of speak from the heart. We are songwriters. I always say that, you become a songwriter because you want to communicate with people, but when it happens, you're never there. People have said, oh, we got married to your song. We sang it at my father's funeral. You want to make a connection, and you just, after a while, you kind of take it on faith that it's happened. And the only real proof of it is that people keep singing the songs. And because you guys actually care enough about the content of a song to actually do it. You guys a song rises to the top and then you do it because you notice everything that's in it. I never wanted to be a lyricist. I was only a lyricist because nobody else wanted to write the lyrics. And why should they? I mean, there are people who actually are lyricists in the world. I'm not one of them. The lyricist is always back at the hotel trying to fix those two bad lines while everyone else is having fun at the theater. And if you could have fixed those two lines, you would have a beginning. Also, you really kill yourself. You take a week to get those lines to happen so that they will go by and not be noticed. That's the point of it. And the work is so that it's not noticed. When David and I first came and did our first show, we had open calls. We didn't know that you're not supposed to actually go to open calls. We went to open calls. And one young person came out and sang, "There's a bright golden hair on the meadow." And it didn't seem to bother him that it not only was wrong, it didn't make any sense. That was my introduction to New York theater and the humbling realization that lyrics are not, for a lot of people, are a transitory thing. So anyway, the idea that these songs go out in the world and are sung, that's the real point. Thank you for the award from my point of view. But really, David and I would happily give an award to you because frankly, that's the reason these songs have a chance of living on. And that's all you really want, the songs to just go out and it's Sondheim says it's children in art, you know. You just want the songs to go out by people who understand them, who care about them, who care about the detail, who care about those two lines, and who notice that they go by gracefully and you know, thoughtfully and contribute to the emotion of the whole thing. So I'm grateful for this, and I thank you all for it.
I was an English major before I was a music major, so I have to do the more formal remarks. Our song Autumn, which Charlotte Maltby will soon sing for you, was written for our first college musical. It was the first-rate song that we wrote. And a few years later, when we began our professional career in New York, Barbra Streisand was first becoming all the rage at the Blue Angel Cabaret. And all of us neophyte songwriters were trying to get a song to her. That was the major goal. Richard and I were finally granted an audience with her backstage at the Blue Angel, and the song she picked from the 6 we played for her was Autumn. A few years later, we contributed a half dozen songs to a cabaret review called Graham Crackers at the upstairs at the downstairs. The Sap of Life, our first off-Broadway show, opened in a cabaret turned into a theater. And a few of the score's songs were later incorporated into Starting Here, Starting Now, which first saw the light of day in another cabaret before moving to yet another cabaret, Barbara Ann's. Closer Than Ever was first tried out in a cabaret and eventually moved to the Cherry Lane. Richard's multiple Tony Award-winning Ain't Misbehavin' was developed in the Manhattan Theater Club's Cabaret Annex, where it opened and soon transferred triumphantly to Broadway. A little sidebar here. Richard wrote 3 lyrics to 3 existing instrumental melodies of Fats Waller. And one day I flippantly asked him how he liked working with a dead composer. And Richard replied, great. Dead composers can't criticize the lyrics. All the above is to highlight what an indispensable part cabaret and cabaret performers have played throughout our career. So tonight we want to thank not only the Bistro Awards Committee for this recognition of our work, but especially all the cabaret performers, past and present, such as our fellow honorees, the wonderful performers you have enjoyed tonight. Our songs are surely in good hands. And as Richard said, it's wonderful to know that performers as gifted as these will hopefully be keeping them alive for years to come. We are very grateful to them, and we share this award with them.
Very special night, huh?
It was actually, you know, I hadn't been to a Bistro Awards event, and you know, and we're told that we were winning it. It was very nice, but I didn't think that much about it. You know, I didn't think it didn't. You know, I didn't think that much of. I didn't think that often about it. And suddenly we were there, and suddenly it was happening, and suddenly Lynn and Sally and Charlotte and Liz were all singing, and the audience response was there, and oh God, it was incredibly moving. It does. You can think you're blasé about them, but they're, you know, it's wonderful to know that there's a body of work that you have accumulated over your life, and that people want to hear it.
That they really honor it and they respect it and they want more of it. I know sometimes it's hard when you look back and you get all these accolades and all this love and attention. You don't do the work for the accolades. You do the work for the love and joy of doing the work, and all the rest is the icing and the gravy that comes along. And when it does, it's a very beautiful thing when you know that you've impacted people's lives and you've touched their lives in such a deep, long-lasting way. And sometimes even to where somebody in that audience or somebody listening somewhere or viewing is then inspired to maybe step forward out of their box and do something similar, maybe go into the creative arts as well, because of something that they heard or something that you've done or something that they've seen. So all of this is one big snowball that just keeps rolling. And it's a really beautiful thing as you're impacting and bringing joy and blessing to people's lives in this way. Wouldn't you say, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising. You know, some of these songs are now, you know, 30 and 40 years old, and that they feel like they were written yesterday, and that they haven't aged. They haven't, and in many cases, they seem almost more relevant and more. I mean, if you write out of your own time, you're usually ahead of the curve. You know, if you write out of something that you're feeling at this moment, the um, the world may not catch up to that for a while. So in many cases, these songs were things that were about subjects that nobody would ever think anyone would write a song about. And then now they seem like, oh my God, isn't it amazing how complex they are?
Yeah.
And it's time reveals things in the songs, you know.
Yes, absolutely. And it's amazing, like you say, a song that was written years ago, how sometimes it takes on a whole new feeling and how relevant it becomes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, what continues to bring you great joy and blessing in your life, Richard, to continue on and to continue to share and inspire us as
Well,
you do?
there's just something so wonderful about writing a musical. I mean, it's frustrating. It takes forever. It sometimes can be really disappointing. It can sometimes be painful and complex, and you've got and then in the middle of it, it's the most fun anybody can ever have. You know, when you're in the rehearsal and suddenly it comes together for the first time, or suddenly some actor says, "Well, what about?" and tries it differently, and it sort of comes alive. Or you have an idea and say, What happened if you did it this way?" And then it takes on its own life. They're living, breathing things, and they're also magic tricks. The excitement of a musical is made up of the words and the music and the performances and the dancing, but it's actually none of them. It's some other thing that all of those things kind of conjure up. My image for a musical was a cotton candy machine. You know, and if you've ever seen it at a fair, that big bin of that silver tin spins around, and you take the cone of paper and you put it down in the middle, and then slowly it seems to accumulate, and then you pull it out, and there's this big puff of cotton candy that seems to have come from nowhere. That's a musical to me.
What a great analogy.
All of the pieces are spinning around, and then what you take away from it is that thing, that
Yeah.
magical, sweet, you know, inedible thing.
That's funny. That's a great analogy. I never thought of it in that way. You start with the cone and then it just continues and swirls, and that's a beautiful analogy. We have some speaking of beautiful things, we have some photos here, and maybe you can take us through what we're enjoying and what we're seeing here. This is a nice group shot of everybody.
Oh, this is the production of Baby.
Mm-hmm.
We did a cabaret version of Baby at 54 Below, and it was produced by Rob Schneider, and Charlotte was in it. Carolee Carmelo was in it. I'm terrible at remembering all the names of it. An ensemble was wonderful, and the cast was really terrific, and the club was wonderful. We just did a paired numbers. We just did the songs, but it was it was very moving.
Yeah.
That show there's an example. The songs really do hold up.
Yeah.
They feel. They feel like they were written yesterday, and if anything, they're sort of deeper now.
Absolutely.
And the actors these days have lived with them for longer.
Here's another great shot.
Oh, that's Charlotte and Carolee Carmelo, and David Lee. And it was a wonderful event.
And of course, we have this. The story of my life.
This is I urge people to get the album to this and listen to it. The score is absolutely glorious. It's just, it starts off simply and it sort of takes you by surprise. And then about halfway through it just goes off in these glorious places. There's Will Chase, who's still my favorite, or one of my favorite Chris's from Miss Saigon. Just a great performer. Malcolm Getz from that TV series that I can never remember the name of. And they were both wonderful in it. It was a small 2-character musical, and the it had a little trouble filling the theater. The audience, though, it was one of those shows that crept up on you. You didn't know it was going to be as moving as it was, and
right.
People came out of the theater, dabbing their eyes and Kleenex all over the place for this little. The authors had set out to write a story of a friendship between two men. We could write a story that was not a gay love story. That was, and it was really. It was lovely, and I just urge everybody, if you are interested in musical theater, get just that score and get to know it. It's just breathtaking.
Here's another Pirate Queen.
Well, I did the lyrics to Miss Saigon, and then after that, Gilguil and Alan Gilguil and Michelle Schoenberg did the Pirate Queen. It was produced by the people who did Riverdance. It's a huge production.
Oh yeah.
I flew to Chicago to see it. the director didn't really know how to sort of pull it together, and it needed its storytelling was quite awkward, and it was sort of a heavy it was a heavy production, and
Yeah.
So I wrote a note to Alain saying, I think you need to do this, and the next time I saw him, he wanted me to come on the show and help write it. So the show had about a 3-month layover before it came to New York, and I went to London and we worked on it. We did, in fact, fix the story, but it was still in that sort of very heavy physical production, and it still just never took off. Even though it's got a lovely score.
Yeah.
Stephanie Block was the lead in it. She was terrific. It had everything going for it.
Yeah.
And a great story. An Irish pirate, woman pirate, pretty much settled the war between England and Ireland by going into London and meeting Queen Elizabeth. And the two women hit it off, and Elizabeth called off the war for a while. So it's a really fascinating story. First of all, a pirate queen. I mean, how many of them are there?
Yeah.
Female pirate.
Song and dance.
Oh well, I had this brilliant idea that Bernadette Peters should do it in New York. Because at that time, I mean, she had done movies and she was, a star, but she wasn't a recording star. And this was written as sort of as a vehicle for a record artist. But our revision of it was making it more of a play, and so I thought she would be wonderful in it, and she was. I mean, the rehearsals were the stage manager, the musical director, Bernadette, and me in a rehearsal room. And actually, I took the first act, which is the song cycle, up to Williamstown to a tiny little theater, to just sort of so that she would get so used to doing it that she would, you don't have any time to breathe in a one-woman show.
Right. No, it's just,
so
yeah.
You really have to be on top of the material. And it turned out to be a very smart thing to do, because first act is the one-woman show and the second act is a ballet with dancers. So the tech period is you tech the first act, which is her one-woman show, and then you spend all this time teching the ballet, which takes forever. And meanwhile, your star is sitting unused, unwanted, and getting kind of nervous because there's nothing going on for her. It's the reality of what it was, and she was great. But the nice thing was she had done the show in Williamstown and absolutely knew where everything was, so she could be patient with that. And she was breathtaking. She won her first Tony for it, and I'm just so proud of that.
That was a good one. Absolutely.
Great human beings of all time.
Yeah.
This person, just adore him.
As that, yeah. Andrew Lloyd Webber's Song and Dance. The Souvenir Book. There's another one. Big.
Oh, what is this? Oh, Lights of Broadway.
Big, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out where this was.
That's a cool cover too.
Oh, you know what it was? This is the tour.
It's part of the tour.
That was the tour that opened in Wilmington. It was wonderful. We did a bunch of changes to the show after the New York run. We had along the way cut some songs that I thought were really important to the plot, and we put those back in and rearranged things. Eric Schaefer from the Signature Theater in Washington, directed it, and he did a wonderful job.
Nice. Here's another. Closer than ever.
Well, so many of those songs that you've heard, Miss Bird and Life Story, um, the filing cabinet that I had, like, the sort of urban file of stories that people had told me that got bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually, my assistant Stephen Scott Smith asked if he could put together a cabaret evening at 88's, which he did. And it got these terrific reviews, and we decided to expand it to a full evening. I took over as a director of it, and the reviews were terrific, except for the one review in the New York Times. A woman who only was at the Times for 3 months, and then she got fired, but she was there long enough to describe the women's songs of the show as the whinings of unsatisfied women. And but the show was really very powerful, and when we did a revival of it at the York Theater with Jen Colella and Christiane Knoll and George Gorski and Sal Viviano, it just took off. His performances were so breathtakingly good. And some time had gone by without kind of knowing it. The original cast was all people in their 20s. The songs are all for people who were, sort of in their 30s, 40s. There's people who lived a while. And the cast at that time in the York Theater production were older. And as a result of that, the songs made sense. It was Stephen Holden in his review of the cast album who said that the show with a young cast seemed like a review. But when you listen to the album, you hear that there's this throbbing thing going through all of them, which is about life lived over time. And that had not really occurred to us, but it's certainly true.
Mm. Very well said. Here's another through memory lane here. Starting now.
Well, I told you that we did 2 shows at
Yeah.
Yale. One of them was called Grand Tour. It was about a school teacher who goes to England on a trip. And in the opening number, there was a classroom scene, and we've got a bunch of school kids, local school kids. And one of them was Lynn Meadow, who went on to become, after she graduated, she went to Bryn Mawr, and then she went to Yale, and then she graduated, came to New York, and was looking for a theater to produce in, and came upon the Manhattan Theater Club, which was going under and available for almost, because nobody wanted it. So she took it over, and they needed to have they were really in trouble at the end of the first year, and she asked me to come in and do a benefit for them, which I did, and it was really successful. We didn't actually raise money, but the foundations that supported them for another year and kept it going. I did the benefits every year for years and years and years, and the Manhattan Theater Club was in something called the Bohemian Hall on 73rd Street, and one of the rooms was a bar, and it should have been like a cabaret. They were trying to figure out what to do in it. They would have cabaret performers come in every now and then, and the question was, could you ever actually do a show that was new there or that had any kind of artistic content? And she had the idea of David and me of doing an evening of songs by David and me. And David was at that time working in California, really having a gorgeous film career. It was a little hard to get him to come back to New York, and a lot of these songs were trunk songs that had been in shows that hadn't succeeded, something like that, or that never got produced, but they were out there, and we assembled them in the show, and the show sort of took off, and brought us back together again. It started us writing again, and Lynn was Lynn, who was 12 years old when we first met, and now running a theater in New York. She's been very important. She forced us to do that show. It then went on and had a terrific run at another club in New York, and was done all over the country. And she insisted that I fill up the space with that Fats Waller material, and that didn't do badly. And that sort of changed my life. I mean, we had five companies of Ain't Misbehavin going simultaneously. With understudies, that meant we were casting 10 Nell Carters and 10 Ken Pages and 10 Andre de Shields. And a lot of people have stayed in show business because they work constantly. And Ain't Misbehavin is produced all the time. It has been produced forever, and it doesn't go down. And a lot of people have been employed by it, and I'm sort of I'm still in show business because it's there. I'm very proud of that. I was actually given an award, an Audelco award, by an organization.
Yeah.
It's just that honors.
Sure.
Mostly it goes to people who promote Black artists and everything. And it is seldom given to anybody who is not a Black artist. And I was really honored that they gave it to me for that show, because so many of the musical performers owed their career and their longevity in the business to repeated productions of Ain't Misbehavin. I'm really proud of that.
Definitely, as you should be. Yeah, it's legacy. Here's another look at this.
Oh, well, that was our first show. It had, as I said, Dick Cavett was in it. He was the comedy lead. John Cunningham.
Wonderful Dick Cavett. Yeah.
John Cunningham went on to a distinguished career. Austin Pendleton was in it. And Bart Giamatti, who went on to become the president of Yale, and who married our leading lady, the Roxanne, Tony Smith. So,
yeah.
I'm dying to meet Paul Giamatti, the actor, and tell him that I'm not only responsible for his career, I'm responsible for his very existence.
I'd love to hear his answer too.
I'm sure he would get down on his hands and knees and worship
and say thank you, thank you, thank you. Big the musical, of course.
Oh, well, I'm so upset that. I mean, it was a really glamorous production, and choreographed by Susan Stroman, directed by Mike Cochran. It was a really a tricky show. I liked it, but it had one shortcoming, and that is that it opened the night before Rent, and Rent was so touted as the wave of the future, and we were an old-fashioned musical, and all of the attention went to Rent. If we had opened like a month earlier, I don't think it would have been the same. But that's what happened.
Amazing stories we're hearing tonight from the incomparable Richard Maltby Jr. Here's another, The Sap of Life.
Well, that's the show that we wrote when we were right out of college. Producer friends of ours, a director named William Francisco, who went on to teach at Wesleyan, and one of the students was Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah.
And Tommy Kail. They were both students of his. It was sort of a ripoff of our ripoff of the Fantastics. The discovery that you could actually write a musical for a small cast, that there was such a thing. We did that. I took it the plot is sort of an adaptation of a John Cheever story called The Wapshot Chronicles. And it got nice reviews. It was doing sort of okay.
What was it about?
A family has a tradition that when the boy starts looking, when a young man starts looking like he's going to sow his wild oats, he gets sent off to the big city, and then and to learn about life. And when he's learned about life, he can come back. That's the basic plot of it. And what happened was that in the like the second week of the run, Steve Sondheim came to see the show, and we didn't know him. He didn't say anything to us. And then the next week he came back and he brought Hal Prince. And the next week he came back and brought Jerry Robinson and Leonard Bernstein. The score to the show was pretty spectacular, I must say. If you were considering what songs were like, what songs were written for musicals at the end of the early part of the 60s, these were kind of glorious in a way that I say that because it's David's work. They were really breathtaking. A lot of them ended up in Starting Here, Starting Now. A few of them ended up in Closer Than Ever. We have a tradition of recycling songs so that they don't stop existing. But a lot of them,
kind of like Milton Berle did with Jokes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if it works, why not? Keep it. But a lot of Starting Here, Starting Now is from the Sap of Life. And recently, it was done at some theater nerds at University of Illinois, University of Virginia,
Virginia.
decided that they wanted to do a reading of it. And so we went down to see it, and it was delightful. I mean, the score was really terrific. They had a wonderful cast. And again, there was a show that we thought no one was ever going to look at again. And
they did.
The score had some just absolutely really thrilling moments in it.
There it is, the sap of life. Yeah. And they're that too, yeah.
Yes, so, I can't imagine. They're going to
1959 Yale Drama Playbill. Wow.
I know, $350
in 1959. You could buy a car for that.
5 of them. Call me. For $350, my God.
Yeah, that would get you a station wagon back then.
It would, wouldn't it?
That's a great. I like that.
Can't imagine who those people are.
Yeah, dear friends, lifelong friends.
Ring of Fire was, I mean, an oddity for me. I don't like. I don't really have a feeling for country music, but then I don't particularly like jazz, and Ain't Misbehavin is famous for being the first show that made jazz successful on Broadway. Of course, the trick is there's no jazz in it; it's all jazz-ish pop song. It's show music,
jazzy.
It's as much jazz as The King and I is time,
or as White Christmas is. Yeah,
exactly. But somebody had acquired the rights to do this, and I actually started listening to Johnny Cash's songs, and they are amazing.
Yeah,
they come from absolutely nowhere, and he wrote simple songs about people. He really, what I saw in the songs was an America that sort of doesn't exist anymore. Those
kind of like John Denver too. Some of his material.
Those simple people living off the land, fighting for the existence, held together by family, by faith, by and by their heart, by their neighborliness, by their You know, that quality that, I mean, it still exists now, but you almost feel like a nostalgia for it because it seems so lost. People seem so intolerant of their neighbors.
Angry and on the offense,
And,
and
and everybody knows that's not America. That is not.
no,
And what Johnny Cash was writing about was that America. And I thought that you'd feel kind of nostalgic for it. That you would, and I think that most people did. I mean, it was an odd audience reaction. About half of the audience thought it was just spectacularly wonderful, and about half of the audience thought that country music, bleh, and didn't care at all. So, unfortunately, the press was largely in the don't care at all category. But the people who responded to it felt that, and I kept hearing that all the time. That they felt that there was the story that was being told about an America that exists in our fantasy. It's part of it. It exists in our American mythology, um, and thank heavens that it does.
right? Yes,
It is actually. Let's keep believing it. Let's keep believing that's who we are, because it is who we are.
yeah,
Stop this disgusting thing that's going on, turning people against each other.
yeah. It's pathetic what's going on now. It's absolutely pathetic. And wear those masks.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's so hard about wearing the mask? I mean, you can't go into a restaurant, no shirt, no shoes.
I know.
Nobody has a problem.
It's nonsense. It's nonsense that it interferes with your constitutional rights. Well, you know what else interferes with your constitutional rights? A stop sign.
Stop. Right.
You come to a stop sign and you have to stop. You can't not, because you know what? And you know why you don't do that? Because if you keep going, another car will crash into you and kill you. That's exactly what the mask is about. If you don't do it, someone else is going to give you that horrible disease, and you might die from it.
Or you bring it home to a loved one who
Yeah,
might as well.
the
It's
idea that it's something to do with your constitutional rights.
that they're being attacked.
Yeah.
And there's that again. We love that one too. Yes, the world is an interesting place right now. Even causing you to drink. That's how rough it is.
This is a whole glass of gin, just so you know.
Just that's right. I noticed you disappeared earlier. You must have refilled it. A little sneaky refill there. That's funny. You know, when you look at all this, I mean, and it's really extraordinary, you know, from Ain't Misbehavin' and Fosse and all the way up, and even starting with the Sap of Life and so much more. How does it make you feel when you hear some of the things that people say, how your work has really, you know, moved them and touched their lives in so many different ways? We've heard some of those comments live on the show from our international audience of viewers, or lovedies as we call them. But it's something, you know, you've been highly decorated, highly awarded, accolades left and right. Not why you do what you do, but part of the icing on the cake is some of that comes. You're obviously a real observer of life, and you understand the human condition and are able to interpret that in ways through song and through performance that really hit to the core and really hit to the heart and soul of people, huh?
I hope so. I mean, that's what I set out to do, and I think that every now and then I hear the songs and I think, oh my God, look at that. I'm always surprised when I hear the songs. I kind of forget that I actually wrote all of that, or had all of that, had that technique, or worked that hard. Part of it is because of the way that I write. There are people who write. They have a thought, pick up a pencil, and write it down. I have the character, the situation. David, where we are at our best when David has written a melody out of it, and so the melody, because his melodies have quirkiness to them, and those quirkinesses are like complexity in a human being, and so I just sort of sing it, and I talk about it, and a phrase comes, and another phrase, and then it slowly morphs into something else. Then something replaces that stanza with something else, and at a certain point, I look down, and there it is. So I don't have a memory of writing these things. They seem to just sort of accumulate on the page, and often I look down, and I can't quite remember where they ever came from. Uh, I'm following the idea all the time, and the idea goes where it goes, and you don't always know where that is. I mean, it's following a design that pre-exists before the actual writing. There's an idea that is clear, um, even though the details of it are vague. The idea that it's going to go this way, and then discovering how that happens in the music um, is thrilling. But therefore, there's always a sort of a slight disconnect. So if I'm congratulated for something, I say thank you. I don't. I'm often half baffled by the fact that it's there at all. And and songs also belong to the people who listen to them as much as to the people who wrote them. And it means things to them that I'll never know.
Right. Right.
But then so does conversation.
When things started really rolling for you in the early years, did you go back home to Wisconsin? And was there fanfare and like sort of hometown boy made good?
I never lived in Wisconsin. I mean, I was born there by happenstance.
So it was a short period, yeah.
My mother's family lived there, but as soon as I was old enough to travel, my mother went off on the road. I was the sole baby with the band. Oh, here's a treat. I was given a baby present by Sophie Tucker.
Wow, what was it?
A onesie of some sort. I don't know. I don't have it or anything like that, or I don't, But she was the headliner, or she was the star, and she traveled with this band. I think it was the Roger Pryor band, and my father was the trumpet player, or a trumpet player, and I was the baby in the band. I was the only baby that anyone had in the band. So
Suzanne Look says, wish I was able to tune in sooner. Well, you can watch the whole replay of this episode and every episode 24 weeks of the Jim Masters Show live is all archived on YouTube at Jim Masters TV. Suzanne and everybody watching. So if you missed anything tonight or any of our shows every night since May, 160 episodes, I think, you can find them all on YouTube at Jim Masters TV. So you can definitely see this again and not miss anything. She says, wish I was able to tune in sooner. Thank you, Richard, for making it possible to perform in Starting Here, Starting Now, way back in 1981 in Chicago. Suzanne Look.
Oh, well, that's nice. That's very nice.
See, we're just talking about lives you've touched.
I mean, we talk about that, but these songs are. I never really noticed how different they were from. I mean, the songs that David and I write are not like other people's songs. I mean, I think they are. I think they're like mainstream and all that, but they sort of aren't. And as a result, they invite performers to do more in performing a song than simply sing it, to act it, to inhabit it, to be a person, to be a fully rounded character. You give much more of yourself when you do our songs than you are often, invited to do. Not that other people, it's not true of other people. It is true of other people, but it is specifically true of ours. And so if you're in Starting Here, Starting Now, or Closer Than Ever, or Big, or Baby, or any of those shows, it affects you in a way that, I mean, people are so grateful to the emotional experience of, it's why they why they become performers. They get a chance to do these kinds of songs, and so for many people, it's an opportunity they haven't had in a long time. Sometimes, don't mean to disparage any of the shows like Brigadoon and all of that, but they don't ask a whole lot of you. You know, you have to sing great and all of that, but they don't ask that. They don't invite you to be a complex person. All of the Sondheim shows do, and some of the um, Bach and Harnick shows. I mean, lots of other shows do that Lerner and Lowe. But I know I was at the closing performance of Fiddler, this revival that was in New York, a brilliant revival that was in Yiddish, and I was sitting behind Sheldon Harnick, and I asked him at the and expecting some kind of meaningful sense of what is it like at this point in your life, because he's like 90. What is it like to come to the show that you wrote 70 years ago and feel the audience and feel it's so modern and so current? And I wanted him to say something that I could take away forever, and he said, well, it doesn't feel bad. So
Exactly. We had Motel Didner. He was on the show a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week or so ago, from the National Yiddish Theater Folkspin, and he was here, and we were talking about Fiddler having been done in Yiddish, completely in Yiddish, which was really absolutely amazing.
Breathtaking production.
Yeah.
I saw it 3 times, and it was so moving and so simple, and it really revealed how brilliantly written it is. Boy, that script is amazing.
Yeah.
It's breathtaking. I mean,
is there anything that has been done that you love so much you almost wish you wrote it? You were involved in it? Like, gee, that would have been a good one to be a part of.
Sure. I mean, I'm very generous. I was having lunch with Hal Prince shortly before he died, and he said, in passing, he said, well, you're the most generous person in writer in New York in terms of appreciating other people's work. And I thought, that's surprising. Why would he have noticed? Is it that obvious? But I get genuinely excited by brilliant work by other people. And I find it just, inspiring and makes you want to go off and write something new. So I tend to get excited by other things. I mean, Hamilton, of course, blew my mind, but all of the Sondheim shows when they opened were like that. There have been shows of Jason Robert Brown that just thrill me, and I just when it's the basic Ben Basic and Justin Paul are my new favorites, and
Yeah.
enough, I wanted to get to know them, and we went to lunch, and they said, well, we started writing because of you. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, when we didn't know what to write, and you had Closer Than Ever, which was a whole show of just separate songs. We didn't have to write a whole show to write a show, and we could just write things. And they went off and did that, and I was very pleased to hear that.
It's amazing.
I love the way they write. I just
Well, everybody loves your work too, Richard. And it's really been an honor and a privilege, blessing, lots of fun, lots of levity and light and inspiration and levity, as we call it here on our show, to have you with us. And what would you say to somebody who is watching this live now, or perhaps will watch this in the archives, and they are considering, you know, so much has changed over the years with just about every career, every, you know, piece of work that you can go into, every line of work. What would you say to somebody who's watching this, who's inspired by this conversation and considering doing what you do, considering getting into this line of work, pursuing the creative arts and music, things of that nature?
The main thing is follow your voice. I mean, what is true for you? People tend to think when they're starting out, they have to write the big song, the power ballad like that, and they write that. Don't write what you write from yourself. Sometimes said it, if it comes from you, what's it? Then it will be true. Give us more to see. Whatever that line. If it comes from you, then it will be new. People, it's the oldest piece of advice anybody ever has, which is you are enough. What your perception is enough. If your unique take on life, if you follow that, explore that, you will be original. You will be saying things people want to hear. You will say things that people don't know, because your perception is different from everybody else's. You may be, if you're lucky, really, really good. But you'll certainly be interesting if you are following your own voice. Took me a while to do that, I must say.
We're so glad that you did. We're so glad that you did. Richard, thank you for joining us here on the show tonight. We've gone almost 3 hours, which is hard to believe.
Really?
Yeah, it's about 9:45 Eastern. I tell you, I hope you had dinner already.
Actually.
And it was really terrific going, remembering some of the amazing productions and music and things you've been involved in, but also hearing more about the things that have over time inspired you, the passions and the people you've worked with, and how you see life and how you've presented it in such a beautiful way for all of us to really enjoy. It's a legacy that will be there for forever, Richard. I hope this show met your expectations, and I hope you enjoyed your time with me as much as I certainly have with you.
It was delightful. You're very good at this. You're so prepared. Oh my God.
So that college degree I got, you think I'm putting it to good use?
I think so, yes.
Well, it's totally enjoyable, and again, an honor. And we welcome you back anytime, sir. And I hope, once we get past everything we're going through here, we'll be able to get together and pour some wine, break bread. That would be wonderful.
That would be lovely, Jim. It really would be great.
You stay well, you take care. And again, thanks for all the time and sharing so much of your life and your time and your talent with us tonight, Richard. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now go stretch those legs.
Yeah.
I know. You're released. Class dismissed. You're released.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, my friend. Take care. Bye-bye now. Always a great time on our show, and we really enjoyed it having him here. And let's see, wonderful comments always coming in post haste. And let's see these comments. So nice to meet you, Richard. Thanks for such a great evening. Marsha Murphy Watson. More comments coming in. Our lovities love to share how they feel about everything. Great advice, what he was just saying, as far as anybody considering a career in the creative arts and in music as well. Kathleen Walker. Good show. Thanks, Jim and Richard. Have a good night. Take care. And of course, yes, Miss Saigon, also with Liz Calloway. Absolutely. And yes, also Nick and Nora, the musical. I mean, if you just Google Richard Maltby Jr., you will see all that he's been responsible for, from Ain't Misbehavin' to Fosse to on, and continues to deliver such wonderful material. Christine in North Carolina, Clifton. It has been truly a joy to learn more details of your work. I really enjoy your work and the many shows you've teamed with David Shire, and a pleasure seeing all the clips and photos as well. Memory lane for us all. Thanks for sharing your talents with the world. That's beautifully said as well, from Christine Clifton in North Carolina. And Kathy Short says, thank you, Richard, for an amazing evening. Absolutely. Renee in Iowa, thanks for sharing with us, Richard. I love that. All the lovities, the viewers around the world, sharing their pleasure. And love the Thin Man. Marilyn in Wichita, Kansas. Good night, Jim and all. Have a great Thursday, and see you all on Friday. You as well. That's right. We're not here on Thursday. I have a television project I'm working on that's going to take most of the day. And then, of course, there's the presidential debate tomorrow night. So we're not going to be competing with that. So we'll all be riveted to the TV probably. So I have a whole day TV project. I have 2 radio shows to host, wearing my professional hat, the television project, and then we'll be here for the presidential debate. And on this show, we don't have to mute our mics. There's no need to. Good night, Jim. And again, we got that, Marilyn. Thank you once again for that. Did all the research, discovered so many shows, found posters, all kinds of stuff. Renee, another great show tonight for Jim. Everyone have a great night. You as well. We will see you on Friday. I do want to let you know who's on Friday. Not who's on first, but who's on Friday. First, let's thank our wonderful guest, huh? Was he not amazing? He spent almost 3 hours with us. And all the guests, everybody, even the viewers, they say it doesn't even feel like that, because we are bringing back the lost art of conversation on our show here with entertainment. Sometimes we go on locations. Sometimes we have guests from a whole host of backgrounds and fields of expertise. And it was a joy having Tony-winning theater director, producer, screenwriter Richard Maltby Jr. here on our show. We hope to have him back again at some point as well. I do want to let you know that again, we're not here tomorrow because we are really busy tomorrow with television and radio work. We will be here on Friday, and there's our special guest on Friday, Diane DeLynn, brilliant composer and violinist. She's going to also perform live on our show. We are excited to have her here this Friday live, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, on the Jim Masters Show Live, simulcasting on YouTube at Jim Masters TV and Facebook Jim Masters TV, as well as Periscope and Twitch at Jim Masters TV. So Diane will be our guest on Friday. Want to remind you, too, that coming on November 15th, legendary Irish record producer, musician, songwriter, multi-platinum winning Phil Coulter is joining us on the show exclusively, and that's going to be amazing. That is going to be in an earlier time, 3 p.m. Eastern, and that is because it'll be 8 p.m. their time in Ireland. So we're going to do the show at 3 p.m. Eastern here, which will be noon Pacific, and it'll be 8 p.m. in Ireland, Scotland, and England. And of course, Phil will be live from Ireland. Just want to remind you, too, coming in November, Glenn Scarpelli, child star who starred in CBS's One Day at a Time, is going to be joining us in November as well. And of course, we still take a moment as we are acknowledging that it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the United States. And again, taking just a moment to acknowledge that. And I hosted a show for the American Cancer Society public affairs show for many, many years, and breast cancer was one of the topics that we covered, and it was really a beautiful show. We won several awards, actually. I was able to host and executive produce that for the American Cancer Society a few years back, one of the hats that I wear, and it was really just wonderful being a part of that public affairs television. It was a television show. So again, we're acknowledging breast cancer awareness, and if anybody you know is going through it, or anybody maybe perhaps that you know that passed as a result, and I think many of us probably know people, we just take a moment to celebrate them, and hopefully, again, support those, whether it's the American Cancer Society or what have you. Hopefully they'll find a cure for not just breast cancer, but literally for all cancer, and of course right now for COVID, among other things. As we always say here on the show, we like to tell you to smile. And again, a reminder, we're not here tomorrow on Thursday, so no show tomorrow. We will be back on Friday with our wonderful guest, violinist Diane DeLynn. So join us for that. It's going to be a wonderful show. She's all excited. We've had this planned for several weeks. So smile, and again, share your smile with others. We could all use more smiles now more than ever. Don't forget, share the levity as well, and find your Zen place, whatever that may be, wherever it is. Mine is with loving family and friends, of course, and my work in television and radio, as well as music and cycling and tennis, and of course, writing and the ocean, and doing this show and talking to all of you lovities all around the world and meeting all of you. Many of you who are watching, we've met each other for the first time, and you're here every night. And that's really, truly a blessing. And I really appreciate that. You're posting on the Facebook pages at Jim Masters TV. You're commenting on Instagram and Twitter and Periscope and Twitch and on the YouTube channel. And you're telling me how much this show means to you, how you look forward to it, how you schedule your day around it. Even when we don't have a guest, which is rare because we tend to have guests every night, even though we didn't start the show with the intention of having guests every night. It was just me hosting and you guys there, but we have wonderful guests that are with us all the time. We're actually booked until December now with guests every single night, except for a couple of nights, like tomorrow we're not here. We're taking the day off. We have a television project and radio shows, and then the debate is tomorrow night. But we will be back Friday, and we hope you join us as well. So thanks for all the comments, all the levity, all the support. It means a lot. During my busy day, and my days are even busier now than ever, I notice it all, I see it all, and I truly appreciate all of it as well. We're hoping this show grow together. It's a wonderful community we've started here on the Jim Masters Show Live. When I turned the lights on, we created this home studio. Wasn't sure what was going to happen with it. I was just me sitting in a chair and talking to you guys and doing all kinds of different things that we've done. We did that as Nostalgic Night, remember? And that's where the George Burns came in. And Jeannie and Gilligan and all the rest of the characters that you guys love to see, and all the other fun we've had. I tell you, we've been together for a long time now. Every night, night after night, almost 160. I don't know. I was looking in YouTube. It's something like 200 shows. I don't know. Well, I think maybe because we've also done pop-up shows, and we did food festival shows, and I did on location segments and so much more. So truly a blessing. And again, a lot of work putting these together, but fully worth it. Good night, Jim and lovely friends. You as well, Christine. We're going to see if we can get this in under 3 hours. I certainly hope so. And I'll have to talk fast. And Kathleen, you as well in New York, thank you very much. Looking forward to all the upcoming shows and great guests. Yeah, Roy Buckley, the wonderful Irish singer and performer, he's coming. George Hutton, Irish pop star, lyric tenor. And also an important announcement. Corner Boy, the very popular Irish band Corner Boy, was going to be on this Saturday, but due to the restrictions that are very tough right now, level 5 in Ireland, they're not able to get to their studio. So we've moved Corner Boy, which is a very popular group in Ireland and throughout Europe. You're going to love them. They're really, really talented. They're going to be here on December 5th. Write it down. Saturday, December 5th. They will be here. Not this Saturday night. Initially, they were all excited to be here Saturday night. But then as of 9 p.m. last night, Ireland had to crack down, and they raised their restrictions to level 5, meaning that they cannot, they can't really mingle with anybody outside of their household. They can't get together with anybody outside of their household. And they have to stay within 5 kilometers of their homes. And their studio is 40 kilometers away, and all the instruments as well. So the band is going to be here on December 5th. It's going to be a great Saturday night. They've been actually rehearsing for this Saturday. So we're going to be here on Friday. So we're not here tomorrow. We're going to be here on Friday. And then we're also away this weekend. So we're not going to be here this weekend. No shows this Saturday or Sunday. We'll be back on Monday with another amazing guest I'm going to tell you about tomorrow night. Some brilliant musicians going to be joining us. All right. So I'll repeat this on Friday. We'll post it on Facebook at Jim Masters TV as well. So not here tomorrow, here on Friday with violinist Diane DeLynn. And then we're not here this weekend. No shows Saturday and Sunday. Are you going to be able to handle that? No shows here. Continue to share the levity in your life. But we won't be on the air Saturday or Sunday with our usual shows. We're taking that weekend off, which is going to be wonderful. And then we'll be back on Monday, okay? So I'll repeat it one more time. We're here now. I think I am. We're here now. We're not here tomorrow, Thursday. And again, if you're watching this in the archives, like 6 months later on YouTube, none of what I'm saying is going to matter. I'm just using the live element right now for those who are watching live so they know how to plan their day. We'll post all this on Facebook at Jim Masters TV to remind you. And I'll say it again on Friday. No show tomorrow, which is Thursday. Back on Friday, and no show on Saturday or Sunday this weekend. But we are back on Monday, and it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. You too, Marcia. I really appreciate that. And good night to you as well. Good night, Renee. It's good to have you there. You still digging out of the snow in Iowa? You guys got hit with the snow. Thank you very much, Marcia. Tonight and all the shows this week feel like we've been out to the live theater. Thanks for the gift, Jim. My pleasure, Christine. I love connecting with all of you, even though we're doing it virtually. Another great show tonight, Jim. Everyone had a great night. Terrific. I'm glad to hear that. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to all of you. Don't forget, as we always say, relax, take care of one another. We'll throw this in extra to carry over. Since we're not here tomorrow on Thursday, we're back on Friday. We will say relax, and then we'll do another relax. So you can relax today, relax tomorrow, breathe through the diaphragm and from the diaphragm, and take care of yourself as best as you can. Love one another and love yourself. May sound Pollyanna to some people, but what the heck? The alternative is not so hot. So take care of yourself and love one another and relax. I know it's easier said than done, but try to relax. We all need to do that. We all need to come together as well. So I think we've taken care of all the goodbyes and all the thank yous. And of course, we thank our friends at LMG, Lampion Music Group, for their love and time and attention as well. We appreciate everything at LMG. We appreciate all of you all the time right here on the Jim Masters Show live with me, Jim Masters. Good to have you with us, gang. Thanks for everything. You have a good night. Oh, it's 3 hours and 18 seconds. Couldn't get it under the 3. A lot of content tonight. There's a lot of content. So we're going to take off. We'll see you Friday, okay? You have a great day tomorrow. We are busy with radio shows and a television project. And then, of course, the big debate is tomorrow night. Ooh, God bless us all. And then we are on Friday back live with violinist Diane DeLynn. It's going to be a cool show. I hope you're here. If you're not, you can see it in the archives at Jim Masters TV. That's about it. We've run out of words, as rare as that is. Good night, everybody. Take care, and thanks for being with us on the Jim Master Show Live. We'll see you on Friday. Take care. Bye-bye.